Hi, my name is Lubomir Ftacnik. I come from Slovakia and I'm cooperating with Checkmate for the last 25 years. The DVD about mates, 1000 mates, is a very special project that was born a long time ago. The first version of this publication had only 400 mates, but it proved to be so popular that we made an effort and found another 600 examples that are on this DVD sorted according to motifs. If you are a little bit stronger than the complete beginner, you may also say that the mates are rather exceptional occasions, and people tend to resign before they get mated in modern chess praxis. But you would be surprised how many games incorporate the elements of mating designs and mating attacks. If you start searching in modern databases, the latest version that has more than 5 million games will give you more than 200,000 games that are finishing or that are coming very close to present a mating pattern on the board. That is nearly something between 4 to 5%, and it's an astonishing number if you consider that usually, if you own praxis, you hardly ever allow your opponent to mate you. Sometimes when people are frustrated, they will play overs to the mate, but it's more exception to the rule than the rule itself. On the other hand, mate is something that should not be underestimated, because ability to mate your opponent should belong to the basic skills for every chess player. Sometimes we tend to forget that mating your opponent is actually the main goal of the game. The king on the board is a very vulnerable piece in comparison with any other piece, also in comparison with pawns. It is something that has to be hidden, stashed away as far as possible from the reach of opponent pieces. And if you have a safe king, you have one very good argument for having a good game. That's one of the elements that is quite critical. On the other hand, if your king is vulnerable, even material or huge positional advantage might be or come to naught, because mate is always more. There is a tendency in the game to try to play for speeding the process of attacking your opponent, and whoever comes first wins the game. It doesn't really matter if you put your opponent under enormous pressure and you threaten with a mate. If you are mated first, you have lost the game. There is one thing to be noted about chess king. The kings, they can also be reasonably strong. They can be important pieces in the end game, or for that matter, in the process of mating the opponent king. But on the other hand, in itself, by nature, the kings are very vulnerable. King should be, for this reason, safely put in the corner, either on the king side or on the queen side, and they should be protected at least with some pawns and maybe pieces. On the other hand, of course, if you concentrate on defending your king, you can't attack your opponent, or you are at least tying down part of your army, of your potential, and you are diminishing the chances of scoring against your opponent. There is one huge disadvantage of having the king at the edge of the board, because if we are talking about mating the king should be theoretically safest somewhere closer to the middle of the board, because when the king is not at the edge of the board, you have to cover, as the enemy, you have to cover 9 squares, 1 square where the king is standing, and all the other squares that are around the king. I mean, have a look. King on g4 is reasonably safe, because you have to cover all these squares and also attack the square where the king is standing in order to mate him. On the other hand, if you compare the king on d8, the king on d8 is much easier to get or to mate, because the king with his surrounding is living on only 6 squares. If you imagine the king at the very edge of the board and in the corner, then there are only 4 squares to be covered. Imagine the king on h8, and then you have to cover only the squares g8, g7, h7, and h8. So there are 2 tendencies that are a little bit, biting against each other, and then there is always a problem to decide what to do, because in the middle game, of course, you don't want to fool around with your king in front of your own army or very close to the opponent's army. It's always connected with a great danger. On the other hand, when the game is advanced so far that your king is under threats, it is probably sensible to think about stepping away from the edge of the board and making the mating of the king a little bit more complicated than it is when the king is too close to the edge of the board. I just want to present one important example from the chess praxis that will show you and explain a little bit more about the problems tied with mating the king. In this position that we see on the board, black is definitely worse. The reason is not only that his king on d8 is vulnerable, that it's under pressure, but also the reason is that his bishop, black bishop on c6, is a bad piece. All the black pawns are on dark squares. And the bishop is, for this reason, of the wrong color, so to speak. On the other hand, white has a nearly winning position, or we can say he has a winning position with very well-organized pieces. The only thing that is still missing is the possibility to deliver the final blow. In this position, this is a perfect example for the rule that I have mentioned, that the opponent king, the king of the stronger party, can take part and can try to actively work with his own pieces, and he can even take part in the mating attack. This is what Kramnik did in our game. After f5, white is either trying to advance f or e pawn, and this will be critical for the defender. Black took on d4, and after king g5, there is nothing better than taking the pawn on f5. And now black is materially better. He has 4 pawns against white's 2 pawns, but on the other hand, the coordination of white pieces is nearly perfect, and because of the threat king rook g4, white is playing king f6. It would be pointless to take on f5. White is very happy about the protection that this f5 pawn is offering to his own king, and the next move for white might easily be king e6 with the idea of rook g8. Black tried desperately to defend with rook g4. Of course, exchanging the rook would be completely against white's interest, and white played rook c7 in anticipation of the move either king e6 or e6. Black played rook h4, which will enable him at least to put up some resistance with rook h6. Unfortunately, it comes too late, because now white is so well coordinated that he can play knight f7, and black resigned not because after king e8 e6 will come, but after king e8 it's very simple. to play rook c8, king d7, and now rook d8 mate. This is not a everyday occurrence, because white has only rook and knight and the king, but since the pieces are so ideally coordinated, white has managed to take all the squares around the black king and mate him. This is a perfect example of the possibilities of the old art of mating your opponent, and it is something that every chess player should learn and should become better at, because, well, working with the DVD that you have just opened has quite a few advantages. You will get better in tactics, because, of course, mating your opponent means overcoming some resistance, and the tactics is a very important part of nearly each and every chess game, and especially if you are trying to break through the defenses, you need some imagination, some skill, usually. And also, it will help you to appreciate the main idea of the chess game. You will develop the sense of how dangerous it is for your opponent when you decide that the moment has come and you can concentrate your attention and your energy on enemy king. It is something that when I'm teaching younger players, or when I'm giving lessons, I really ask my students to try hard and be able to find at least a mate in 2 or mate in 3 moves. It's like a minimum requirement, because without the ability to mate your opponent, it's very difficult sometimes to win even much better position or much better game. It is something that should be part of the chess education for any decent player, and definitely seeing many patterns, many pictures, and mating patterns will help you to improve your chess fantasy and also your ability to spot the chance of kicking your opponent's butt.